I was super passionate about it. It just through my conversations with my brother and our coworkers, we were just like, co-working is it. This is the future of work. It's free form. It's the way it has to happen. So we were in conversations with Jeremy Neuner at the Economic Development Redevelopment of Santa Cruz, and so Saul and I said, we were like, we're going to get Jeremy over here, and we're going to tell him this is what we need to do. This is what the town needs to do, and we need to make this happen. So we invited him over for a meeting, and so it was Beach and Sean, Tario, and Saul, and myself, and Jeremy. And that night we had a conversation around the table, and we explained to Jeremy what co-working was. We were like, this is what it would look like. And he got up on the whiteboard and he wrote it down, and he was like, wow, that's what we need. Like, rather than this whole like incubator, there was this whole thinking around this incubator, this kind of traditional model of we need, millions of dollars in a facility and all of this stuff. And it's like, no, you need community first. We have community. And that's the thing that was a thread and continues to be a thread throughout my belief around co-working, is that you create a community first, and then you provide a way for that community to convene. And so the way for the community to convene is around a physical location and place, which we call co-working. And so from that meeting, Sean Tario was very, it was funny. He was very much wanting to, he really liked this idea of the incubator. Like, he was just really wedded to this incubator idea. It was the traditional kind of model that he understood and was conventional, and he sat there. I remember he was like, crossed his hands and he goes, this is a stupid idea. This will never work. And I was really passionate about it, and Saul was like, and so it was a really fun, it was a fun time. I mean, because we were sussing it out. It's like, no, we really think this will work. And Jeremy, in his wisdom, just sat there and thought, it was like, yeah, this will work. And man, did it, just the ball started rolling. So before we knew it, Jeremy was on it like a bandit, and he got some founders together, co-founders. He got a lawyer in town and a mayor in town, and then he got some funding, and I believe those funders came from the Geek Dinners. Met people at the Geek Dinners that came out and decided to provide funding to start what we now know as NextSpace in Santa Cruz, and so the first co-working space to hit the streets of Santa Cruz. So that's how co-working came to be. I mean, there was a lot along the way that happened. Co-working, to me, is not about creating a real estate space and making money off of the people, being a landlord. So it really has a huge community building effort and a community manager effort. And so through the years, we've provided a lot of counsel. In the early days of NextSpace, we were providing Jeremy with a lot of counsel. There were some pretty intense meetings where we talked about what we felt the community wanted as far as the pricing model and how things would work. And so it's been an interesting journey, just to kind of suss out the tension between a community-centered movement and then this need to pay the mortgage on a real estate property. So that dynamic continues to play out today in Santa Cruz.
What's the mission of Quiddities?
Quiddities? Well, first, the definition of Quiddities is the qualities of uniqueness. So it's basically meant to, it gets to the heart of everybody has a unique value proposition, and through branding and strategy and web development and media efforts, not just web, but any media efforts, you can define your Quiddities and get that unique value proposition out to the world. So,
Is a co-working environment especially helpful to a firm like Quiddities?
It's essential. It's transformed my business. I mean, for me, I was, at the time in 2007, I was out to build a big agency. And the transition that I've made in the last 3 years was realizing I didn't want to build a big agency because it came along with a lot of things that I really didn't want to do. I didn't want to be an HR manager. I didn't want to run the human resources and people side of a business. I wanted to start a movement, and that movement was creating collaborative resources and teams that could do awesome projects. And so rather than build a company, I've really taken a position to build a movement. And I think I've been part of building that movement here in Santa Cruz to create a new way of working, a new model of working, and a way to really sustain yourself here in Santa Cruz.
You've been a silo buster all of your life, haven't you?
Yes. Silos need to be busted. Silos can store corn. It's funny that this term silo buster has been a favorite of mine. Like, for me, right now, I feel like if I had to define my superhero, that would be my superhero name, was Silo Buster. A big silo with a cross through it. Because I think that the collaboration is where innovation lives, and I believe that's where our future lives in this world. I think that we have a lot of really large problems to solve, whether you look at our institutions and economic systems, all of the things that we've grown up to understand, whether banking industry, insurance, finances, all of these things could use some silo busting, and as well as technology and education. People need to be collaborating and learning from one another, and that essentially for me is what the internet is, and that's what, when I started my journey down the internet, that's what I saw it to be, was a way to really connect to people and to accelerate serendipity and accelerate knowledge and accelerate connection. And that's where I see the story of co-working coming into this, is that it's an internet of people, and so it's connecting people, and so it's a silo buster. So I'm all about busting the silos.
How did you first become a geek?
I first really I stayed away from computers entirely. I thought they were really stupid in high school. We had one at my house, which was unusual at the time, and it had a screen this big, and the box was huge, and I just thought it was ridiculous because all you could just play games on it, and I didn't know what the point was. And then I learned about networking and internet, and for me, that was like when the light bulb went on. I'm like, oh, well, if we can connect people through the machines, that's something I want to be a part of, and the way to be a part of it was to be a geek. So that began my journey. I just kept raising my hand for every opportunity I could, and said I could do it, and I had no idea how to do it, but I figured it out.
What would an ideal client look like for Quiddities?
Ideal clients are ones who are passionate about the work that they're doing, and they believe very strongly in whatever the mission of their body of work is, and that's essential at this point. If somebody's wanting to just sell a widget, it's just really not interesting to us, and so we're really looking for people that are passionate about what they're doing and looking to get that message out to the world and connect to people and connect their ideas to this wonderful internet.
Have you seen co-working improve the funding environment in Santa Cruz?
Not so much. No, I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. I do think what we've seen here is we have, some. It seems to me that the local investors so far have been investors that have been interested in real estate, and they funded NextSpace, and that was a real estate venture in some perspective to them. And so it was very easy, I think, to see, income, profit. Okay, great business model. Let's repeat it in other cities. Great, we got a business model. Now, understanding the web, we don't necessarily have this huge VC community here in Santa Cruz. We have 20,000 people that are community over the hills, and some of those are definitely investors and engineers and people that are going over to the Silicon Valley to participate in the funding environment. But here in Santa Cruz, it's been much more limited. And so that's part of one of the next areas that I'm really looking at is convening funders around this space and really connecting people with ideas and the ability to implement to funding. And that's something I believe very strongly, that if the message is given that there are ideas and competent people and excellent, superior people, not just competent, in Santa Cruz that can build and implement these ideas, that local people will fund ventures here. And I think that we can also look for, once we have more local Santa Cruz people investing, I think we're going to look much more appealing to outside investment coming in. That basically it's kind of the situation where we need to invest in ourselves first, and then I think we can also attract outside dollars.
If you weren't running Quiddities, what would you be doing?
Running the world.
Well, that's a good idea.